Commander Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Meridian watching the massive alien vessel appear in Earth's orbit. The ship was huge beyond anything humanity had ever built. Its dark metal hull gleamed with strange lights that seemed to bend space around it. Jake had been in space for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Sir, we have incoming transmission on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the fear underneath. The entire bridge crew was tense. They all knew this day might come, but hoped it never would. The main screen flickered and 3 alien figures appeared. They sat at what looked like a judge's bench made of crystal and metal. The middle figure was tall with 6 arms and skin that changed colors from purple to gold. Its eyes were black and cold. The other 2 aliens were smaller but no less frightening. "Greetings, inhabitants of the 3rd planet from your star," the middle alien spoke. Its voice filled the bridge with a sound that made Jake's bones ache. "I am High Counselor Zethrin of the Galactic Dominion Council. Your species has been watched and studied. According to Galactic Law 2847, all newly found civilizations must pay tribute to continue existing in our domain." Captain Lisa Thompson stepped forward. She was Earth's best diplomat and had handled first contact protocols for years. But this was different. This was not a friendly meeting between equals. This was a threat. "What kind of tribute do you want?" Thompson asked, keeping her voice calm. 20% of your planet's population for work in our mines and factories? 30% of your natural resources every year. Complete removal of all your military ships and weapons. Total surrender of your governments to our chosen leaders. The bridge went silent. Jake felt his blood turn cold. This was not a request. This was a demand for humanity to become slaves. He looked around at his crew. Rodriguez had gone pale. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Ben Parker, was gripping his console so hard his knuckles were white. "You have 72 of your planetary rotations to agree," Zethrin continued. "If you refuse, we will destroy your species completely. This is how the galaxy works. Fighting us is impossible. We have done this 1,000 times before." "What happened to the other species?" Thompson asked. "Those who agreed became part of our empire. Those who refused no longer exist." Zethrin's skin shifted to a deeper purple. "We control 4,000 star systems. We have eliminated 600 species who thought they could resist. Your choice is simple: submit or die." The transmission ended, leaving Earth's defenders staring at a blank screen. Jake felt sick. In just a few minutes, everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but they were also no longer free. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Priority Alpha." Within minutes, the face of General Paul Davis appeared on screen. The old soldier looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. "Commander Martinez, what's our situation up there?" "General, they want us to surrender completely. 20% of our people as slaves, most of our resources, all our weapons. And they want to put their own leaders in charge of Earth." Davis was quiet for a long moment. "How long do we have?" 3 days, sir, and if we refuse, they destroy us." "All of us," Davis nodded slowly. "Commander, I want you to maintain position. But do not engage. We need time to think about this." "Sir, with respect, what is there to think about? We either become slaves or we die. Maybe son, but maybe there's a third option. Stand by." The connection ended. Jake looked around his bridge. Again. These people had families on Earth, children who would grow up in chains if they surrendered, parents who would be worked to death in alien mines. The thought made him angry, but also afraid. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "I'm picking up transmissions." "From the alien ship?" "They're sending data packets to locations all over the galaxy." "What kind of data?" "Looks like they're reporting to their superiors, telling them about Earth and what they found here." Jake studied the readings. The aliens were confident. They had done this before, and they expected the same result. Complete surrender followed by the slow destruction of another species. "Sir," Parker spoke up, "I've been running scans on their ship. It's massive, but I'm not seeing any obvious weapons." "What Do you mean the ship itself is the weapon? The whole thing is one giant energy projector. They could probably destroy our entire fleet with one shot. Jake felt his hope sink even lower. How do you fight something like that? Earth had maybe 100 ships in its entire defense fleet. Most of them were scouts and patrol vessels. The aliens had one ship that could destroy them all. "Commander," came another voice. Lieutenant Karen White from the sensor station. "I'm detecting movement in their ship." "Lots of it. I think they have thousands of crew members." "How many thousands?" "Hard to tell, but maybe 50,000. "Possibly." More. Jake tried to process this. The aliens had sent a single ship with enough crew to occupy a planet. They were not just threatening Earth, they were ready to take it over completely. "Sir, incoming priority message from Earth," Rodriguez announced. "Put it through." President Marcus Williams appeared on screen. He looked older than Jake remembered. The weight of leading humanity had always been heavy, but now it might be crushing. "Commander Martinez, I want you to know that Earth stands behind you and your crew. Whatever happens in the next 3 days, you have done your duty." "Thank you, sir. What are our orders?" "For now, watch and wait. Do not provoke them, but do not back down either. We are calling an emergency session of the United Earth Council. Every nation, every leader will decide together." "Sir, what if they decide to surrender?" Williams was quiet for a moment. "Then we surrender, but if they decide to fight, then we fight. Either way, we do it together as one species." The transmission ended. Jake stood in the quiet of his bridge looking out at the alien ship. Somewhere on that vessel, beings from another world were planning the enslavement of humanity. They had done it before to hundreds of other species. They were confident it would work again, but they had never met humans before. Jake thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was only 8 years old and loved to draw pictures of spaceships. He had promised to bring her back a souvenir from his mission. Now he wondered if he would ever see her again. "Commander," Rodriguez said quietly, "what do you think Earth will decide?" Jake looked at his crew. These brave men and women who had volunteered to defend their world. They deserved an honest answer. "I think we're about to find out what humanity is really made of," he said. "And I think the aliens are going to be surprised." Outside the viewports, the alien ship waited in the darkness of space. Soon Earth would give its answer. But Jake had a feeling that whatever humanity decided, it would not be what the Galactic Dominion Council expected. The emergency session of the United Earth Council began at dawn in Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth packed into the great assembly hall. The air was thick with tension and fear. President Marcus Williams stood at the podium, looking out at faces that showed the weight of an impossible decision. "The alien demands are clear," Williams began, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We have less than 3 days to decide what happens to our entire species. 20% of our people taken as slaves. 30% of everything we produce given to them every year. All our weapons destroyed. Our governments replaced by their chosen rulers." Secretary of Defense Helen Carter stood first. She was a tough woman who had served in 3 wars, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Our military experts have studied their ship. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. That single vessel could destroy our entire space fleet without taking damage. We are talking about a civilization that controls thousands of star systems. So we just give up and become slaves," shouted Representative Kevin O'Brien from the back of the hall. "There has to be another way to handle this." "What other way?" Carter replied. "We have studied every piece of data from their transmission. They have done this to hundreds of other species. Every single one either surrendered or was completely destroyed. There's no middle ground with these beings." Dr. Patricia Miller approached the podium. She was Earth's leading expert on alien life and had spent years preparing for first contact. "But not like this. Never like this. I have analyzed their communication patterns and historical records. They view this as natural law. Strong species rule weak ones. They have been doing this for over 10,000 years. "What about finding allies?" asked Ambassador Chunwei. "Surely some other species would help us fight back." Dr. Miller shook her head sadly. According to their own records, every spacefaring civilization is either part of their empire or extinct. They hunt down and destroy any species that might become a threat. They have eliminated entire civilizations just for developing faster than light travel. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives called for immediate surrender to save as many lives as possible. Others demanded they fight even if it meant total destruction. The room grew heated as tempers flared and fear took hold. "We cannot ask our children to live as slaves," declared Prime Minister Sarah Johnson from Britain. "Better to die free than live in chains." "Easy words when you are not the one being asked to die," replied Chancellor Hans Müller from Germany. "We have a responsibility to preserve human life even if it means accepting their terms." "What life?" shot back President Maria Santos from Brazil. "They will work our people to death in their mines. They will take our resources until Earth is a dead rock. This is not preservation, this is slow extinction." The arguments went in circles. Fear battled pride. Survival instincts clashed with human dignity. Williams watched it all, knowing that somehow they had to find unity in this chaos. General Paul Davis had been quiet through most of the debate. He was old enough to remember when humanity first reached the stars. He had commanded the mission that built the first permanent base on Mars. Now he stood slowly and the hall grew quiet. "I have been thinking about this problem all night, Davis," said his voice carrying the authority of decades in service. "Every species they encountered made the same mistake. They thought in terms of surrender or resistance, submit or fight. But there is something they do not understand about humans." "What is that?" General Williams asked. "We are the only species that looked at fire and decided to control it instead of running away. We are the only ones who saw the ocean and built ships to cross it. We looked at the sky and found ways to fly. We split the atom, we reached the stars. We do not think like other species." Representative Lisa Chang from China leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, General?" "I am suggesting we give them an answer they have never heard before. Every other species either begged for mercy or tried to negotiate better terms. The Zephyrians offered to double their tribute. The Krita promised to serve willingly. The Mantari tried to bargain for more time." "And what answer do you think we should give?" asked Williams. Davis stood straighter. "The same answer humans have given to tyrants throughout history. The same word that built our democracies and won our freedoms. The same response that took us from caves to the stars." "Which is?" prompted Carter. "No," the hall fell silent. The simple word hung in the air like a challenge to the universe itself. Finally, Williams spoke again. "General, you are talking about declaring war on an empire that spans the galaxy. They have destroyed 600 species. They control 4,000 star systems. They have weapons we cannot even imagine." "Yes, sir, I am talking about war. But I'm also talking about something else. I'm talking about being human." Dr. Miller stood up. "General, with respect, one word will not stop their weapons. It will not protect our cities. It will not save our children. Maybe not, Doctor, but it will do something else. It will tell the galaxy that humanity exists, that we were here. We chose to die as free beings rather than live as slaves." The debate erupted again, but Davis raised his hand for silence. "Listen to me. For 10,000 years, this empire has grown because every species they met was afraid. Fear made them weak. Fear made them surrender. But what if one species was not afraid? What if one species looked at impossible odds and said, 'We do not care'?" "You think that would make a difference?" asked President Williams. "I think it might make all the difference. Not for us, maybe. We might all die. But somewhere out there, other species are watching. Other civilizations are afraid. What if they saw humans refuse to surrender? What if they heard that one word and remembered what courage looks like?" Ambassador Wei stood slowly. "The General is suggesting we become martyrs for freedom." "I am suggesting we become human," Davis replied. "We are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. We are not the most advanced. But we are the only species that ever looked at certain death and chose to fight anyway." The hall was quiet again. Outside, the building crowds had gathered. Millions of people around the world were watching and waiting. Children played in parks not knowing their future hung in the balance. Parents held their families closer. Soldiers prepared for a war they could not win. "All in favor of surrender?" Williams called out. 47 hands went up. It was not enough. "All in favor of resistance?" 53 hands rose into the air. The count was close but clear. "All in favor of General Davis's proposal?" 100 hands went up. Every single representative chose the same answer. Williams nodded slowly. "Then it is decided. We will give them our answer. One word, simple, direct, human." The greatest debate in human history was over. Now came the hard part. Now came the response that would change everything. The secure bunker beneath the Pentagon was cold and quiet. Only 12 people sat around the circular table made of polished steel. These were the most powerful leaders on Earth, and they were about to make the most important decision in human history. The room had no windows, and the only light came from soft panels in the ceiling that cast long shadows across worried faces. President Marcus Williams looked around the table at each person. General Paul Davis sat to his right, still calm, despite the weight of what they were planning. Secretary of Defense Helen Carter had her hands folded, but her knuckles were white with tension. Admiral Susan Blake commanded Earth's space fleet and knew better than anyone how hopeless their military situation was. "Let me make sure we all understand what we are choosing," Williams said slowly. "General Davis wants us to tell the most powerful empire in the galaxy a single word. No, not negotiate. Not ask for mercy, not try to find a compromise. Just no." "That is correct, sir," Davis replied. "Every species they have conquered tried to find a way to survive. They begged. They offered more tribute. They promised to serve willingly. They all thought they could find a deal that would keep their people alive. And instead they all became slaves," added Dr. Patricia Miller. "I have studied their records. The process is always the same. First they demand tribute, then they increase the demands. Within 50 years, every conquered species is extinct or nearly extinct. They do not keep agreements. They do not show mercy. They slowly destroy every civilization they control." Admiral Blake leaned forward. "So we are choosing death over slavery. I can respect that choice, but let me be clear about what death means. They will not just kill our military. They will destroy our cities, our children, our culture. Everything humans have ever built will be gone." Admiral said CIA Director Robert Stone, "What if we could delay them somehow? Buy time to build better weapons or find allies?" "There are no allies," Dr. Miller replied firmly. "They have made sure of that. Any species that might help us was eliminated long ago. And we do not have time to build better weapons. Their technology is so far ahead of ours that we would need centuries to catch up." General Davis stood and walked to the wall display showing star maps. "I have been thinking about this all night. Why do they make these demands? Why not just attack immediately and take what they want?" "Because it is easier to rule willing slaves than fight rebellions," answered Dr. Miller. "They have learned that broken spirits are more useful than broken bodies." "Exactly," Davis said, turning back to the group. "They expect fear. They expect surrender. They expect us to think like every other species they have met. But what if we do not give them what they expect?" Secretary Carter spoke up. "General, I understand the appeal of defiance, but defiance does not stop their weapons. It does not protect our people. What practical purpose does saying no serve if we all die anyway?" Davis returned to his seat. "Secretary, let me tell you about the Battle of Thermopylae. 300 Spartan warriors faced an army of hundreds of thousands. They knew they would die. They chose to fight anyway. That battle inspired all of Greece to resist. It changed the course of history." "This is not ancient Greece," Carter replied. "This is reality. We are talking about the extinction of our entire species." "Are we though?" Davis asked. "Dr. Miller, you said they control thousands of star systems. How many rebellions have they faced?" "According to their records, none. No species has ever rebelled after surrender. Why do you think that is?" Dr. Miller considered the question. "Because rebellion would be hopeless. They have total control. superior technology, overwhelming numbers. Or because no species has ever seen an example of resistance, Davis suggested. What if somewhere out there other civilizations are watching? What if they see humans refuse to surrender? What if that one word spreads across the galaxy? Williams had been quiet through this exchange. Now he spoke carefully. General, you are gambling the lives of 7 billion people on the hope that other species might be inspired by our sacrifice. Mr. President, I am gambling that being human means something. That our choice to die free instead of live as slaves sends a message that cannot be ignored. What message? Asked Admiral Blake. That some things are worth dying for. That freedom matters more than survival. That even in the face of certain death some species will choose to stand up and say no. The room fell silent. Each person wrestled with the implications. They were being asked to condemn their own species to extinction based on principle alone, no hope of victory. No chance of survival, just the belief that defiance itself had value. I have children, said Dr. Miller quietly. 2 daughters. They are 8 and 10 years old. How do I choose to let them die for a principle they do not understand? How do you choose to let them live as slaves? Davis replied gently. How do you explain to them that their parents decided their lives were worth less than their freedom? That is not fair, Carter said angrily. We are trying to save lives, not throw them away. Are we saving them, though? Davis asked. Or are we just choosing a slower death? These aliens do not preserve the species they conquer. They use them up and discard them. William stood and walked to the secure communications panel. I want to hear from Commander Martinez. He is up there facing their ship. He deserves to know what we are deciding. Within minutes, Jake Martinez appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. Mr. President, we are maintaining position as ordered. The alien ship has not moved, but we are detecting increased activity. Commander, we are about to make our final decision. I want your honest opinion. If we choose to fight, what are our chances? Martinez was quiet for a moment. Sir, honestly, our chances are 0. They could destroy our entire fleet without taking damage. But, sir, I have been talking to my crew. Every single person on this ship volunteered to be here. We all knew the risks when we signed up to defend Earth. What would you choose, Commander? Asked General Davis. General, I would choose to go down fighting. Not because I think we can win, but because I think it matters that we try. My daughter is 8 years old. If I die, I want her to know that her father stood up for what was right. Williams looked around the table one more time. All in favor of surrender. No hands went up. All in favor of General Davis's proposal. 12 hands rose into the air. The decision was unanimous. Then it is decided, Williams said. We will give them our answer. One word that will echo across the galaxy. One word that defines what it means to be human. The most important decision in human history was made. Now came the hardest part. Now came the moment that would change everything. The alien ship hung in space like a dark moon casting shadows across Earth's surface. 3 days had passed since the Galactic Dominion Council made their demands, and now the deadline was here. Across the planet, 7 billion people watched their screens waiting for the moment that would decide their fate. Commander Jake Martinez stood at the communications console aboard the Earth defense ship Meridian. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in tense silence, knowing they were about to make history. Every person on the ship had volunteered for this moment. They all knew what was coming. Commander, this is Earth Command, came General Davis's voice through the secure channel. Are you ready to transmit our response? Yes, sir, standing by, Martinez replied. He looked around at his crew. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez at Communications gave him a small nod. Lieutenant Ben Parker at Weapons had his jaw set with determination. These brave men and women had chosen to be here at the edge of space facing an enemy they could not defeat. Remember, Commander Davis continued, this message will be broadcast on all frequencies. Every species in the galaxy will hear what we say. Make it count. Martinez took a deep breath. Understood, sir. Opening all channels now. On the alien vessel, High Counselor Zethran and his tribunal sat in their crystal chamber. They had done this ritual 1,000 times before with 1,000 different species. The outcome was always the same. First came the begging, then the desperate offers of increased tribute, finally the broken acceptance of slavery. It was as predictable as the movement of stars. The human deadline approaches, Zethran said to his advisors. Prepare the standard occupation protocols. Their military is primitive. Their technology is laughable. We will have their world pacified within 1 solar cycle. High Counselor, said one of the smaller aliens, should we not wait for their formal surrender? A formality, Zethran replied, waving a dismissive hand. They will surrender. They always do. Fear is the universal constant. All species choose survival over principle when faced with extinction. The communications officer looked up from his station. High Counselor, the humans are requesting to open a channel. Put them through. Let us hear their pathetic pleas for mercy. The screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the human ship. Zethran studied the aliens before him. They looked so weak compared to the mighty species of the core worlds. Their technology was crude. Their ship was tiny. How had such primitive beings even managed to reach space? Humans of Earth, Zethran began, his voice carrying the authority of 10,000 years of conquest. Your time limit has expired. What is your answer to our generous offer of continued existence? Martinez looked directly into the camera. His voice was calm and clear, carrying the weight of 7 billion souls. No, the single word crossed the void between worlds and struck the alien council like a physical blow. For a moment there was complete silence. Zethran stared at the screen, his 6 eyes wide with confusion. His skin shifted through colors that the human translators had never seen before. We do not understand, Zethran said slowly. Please repeat your response. No, Martinez said again, this time with a slight smile. We decline your offer. We reject your authority. We deny your demands. We refuse to surrender. No. The tribunal erupted in shocked voices, speaking in languages that sounded like grinding metal and breaking glass. Zethran raised his hands for silence, but his advisors continued their agitated chatter. Never in their recorded history had any species simply refused their demands. This is impossible, Zethran finally managed to say. No species has ever refused our terms. You will be destroyed completely. Your planet will be sterilized. Your people will be extinct. Do you not understand what we are offering you? We understand perfectly, Martinez replied. You are offering us slavery dressed up as mercy. You want us to give you our people, our resources, our freedom, and our dignity. You want us to bow down and accept that might makes right. Yes, exactly, Zethran said, as if explaining something obvious to a child. This is the natural order. Strong species rule weak ones. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Resistance is futile, maybe, Martinez said. But resistance is also human. We have been fighting impossible odds since we first walked upright. We fought ice ages and plagues and wars and disasters. We split the atom and reached the stars. We did not get this far by giving up when things looked hopeless. Your defiance is meaningless, Zethran snarled, his skin now a deep, angry red. We will destroy you and take your world anyway. Your refusal changes nothing. It changes everything, Martinez replied. For 10,000 years you have ruled through fear. You have convinced every species that surrender is their only choice. You have made the galaxy believe that freedom is impossible. But today, one species is telling you that some things are worth dying for. The transmission was being broadcast across the galaxy on frequencies that reached every corner of the galactic dominion. On 1,000 worlds, enslaved species huddled around hidden receivers listening to something they had never heard before. The word no spoken with pride instead of shame. Your entire species will die for this meaningless gesture, Zethran said. Maybe, Martinez agreed. But we will die as free beings, not as slaves. We will die standing up, not kneeling down. We will die as humans. And what does that accomplish? Zethran demanded. It tells the galaxy that the galactic dominion is not unbeatable, that fear is not the only choice. That somewhere in the darkness of space, one species remembered what courage looks like. Zethran's advisors were speaking urgently in their harsh language. The High Counselor listened, then turned back to the screen. You think other species will follow your example. You think your sacrifice will inspire rebellion? You are wrong. When you are dead and your world is ash, the galaxy will remember. Only that resistance leads to extinction. We will see, Martinez said. But, High Counselor, let me tell you something about humans. We do not fight because we think we can win. We fight because fighting is right. We do not choose freedom because it is easy. We choose it because it is who we are. The alien ship's weapon systems began to charge with energy that made the stars look dim. Across Earth's surface, every military unit, every armed citizen, every person capable of holding a weapon prepared for the fight of their lives. This is your last chance, Zethran said. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Martinez looked around his bridge one final time. These brave souls had chosen to stand with him at the edge of forever. They had chosen to die rather than kneel. High Counselor, Martinez said with a smile, this is Earth. We are human. We bow to no council, serve no master, and kneel to no alien god. If you want our world, come and take it. The transmission ended. The first shot of the greatest war in galactic history was about to be fired. But more importantly, a single word had been spoken that would echo across the stars. No. The silence after the transmission ended lasted only seconds, but it felt like forever. High Counselor Zethran stared at the blank screen where the human had been moments before. His 6 arms trembled with rage and something else he had not felt. In 10,000 years, fear. Impossible, he whispered, then louder. Impossible. No species has ever refused. They always surrender. They always beg. They always choose survival over principle. His advisors were speaking in rapid bursts of their harsh language. The smaller alien to his left was reviewing historical records frantically. The one to his right was checking weapon systems and fleet positions. None of them had prepared for this moment because this moment was not supposed to happen. High Counselor, the weapons officer reported, all systems are charged and ready. We can begin planetary bombardment immediately. Do it, Zethran snarled. Destroy their cities. Burn their forests, boil their oceans. I want nothing left of this pathetic species. But even as he gave the order, something was happening across the galaxy that he did not yet understand. The human transmission had been broadcast on all frequencies, including the secret channels that enslaved species used to communicate. For the first time in 10,000 years, oppressed beings across 1,000 worlds had heard something impossible. On the mining world of Kepler 452b, the Veltar slaves stopped their work. They had been digging precious metals from the planet's core for 3,000 years. Their ancestors had once built great cities and written beautiful poetry. Now they existed only to serve their masters. But they had heard the word no and remembered what freedom felt like. Did you hear that? Whispered Veltar worker named Kethran to his companion. They refused. The humans actually refused. Keep your voice down, his friend replied nervously. The overseers will hear you. I do not care, Kethran said, standing straighter than he had in years. If humans can say no, then so can we. Similar conversations were happening on mining worlds and factory planets across the galaxy. Species that had been broken and beaten for centuries suddenly remembered that they had once been free. The word no spread like wildfire through the underground networks that connected the oppressed. Meanwhile, above Earth, the alien ship began its attack. The first energy beam struck the moon's surface and vaporized a crater 50 miles wide. The message was clear. This was what happened to those who defied the galactic dominion. But the humans were not intimidated. All ships engage, came the order from Earth Command. Protect the homeworld. The Earth Defense Fleet was small compared to the massive alien vessel, but every ship threw itself into the battle without hesitation. The cruiser Washington opened fire with its plasma cannons. The destroyer Lincoln launched a full spread of nuclear missiles. The fighter squadrons swarmed around the alien ship like angry bees. Commander Martinez watched from the bridge of the Meridian as humanity's finest gave everything they had. "Target their weapon systems," he ordered. "We may not be able to destroy them, but we can make them pay for every shot." The alien ship's defenses were incredible. Force fields absorbed the nuclear explosions. Energy weapons bounced off its hull like raindrops. But the humans kept coming. Ship after ship made suicide runs against the massive vessel. Each attack did minimal damage, but each attack also proved something important. Humans did not surrender. "Sir," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, "I'm detecting massive power buildup in their main weapon. They're preparing to fire at Earth." "All ships converge on the weapon array," Martinez ordered. "Everything we have." The final assault was magnificent and terrible. Every remaining human ship attacked the alien weapon at the same time. The destroyer Boston rammed itself into the energy projector. The cruiser Chicago exploded its reactor core against the alien hull. Fighter pilots aimed their ships at critical systems and fired until their weapons ran dry. The alien weapon fired, but the human sacrifice had damaged its targeting systems. Instead of destroying New York City, the beam carved a deep trench through the Atlantic Ocean. Steam rose from the superheated water, but the city survived. "Impressive," Zethran admitted as he watched the human fleet die. "Their technology is primitive, but their courage is remarkable. I have not seen such determination in 1,000 years. "High Counselor," his communications officer called out urgently, "we are receiving reports from across the galaxy. The subject species are becoming agitated. There are work stoppages on 17 worlds. 3 mining colonies have gone completely silent." Zethran felt that cold fear growing in his chest. "What are they saying?" "They are repeating the human word, sir. No, they are saying no to their overseers. No to their work quotas. No to their masters." The High Counselor stood slowly. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Dominion had ruled through fear and example. Conquered species stayed conquered because they believed resistance was impossible. But now, one small species from a backward world had shown the galaxy something different. "Status of the human fleet," he demanded. "Destroyed, sir." "No surviving ships." "But, sir, their planet is still broadcasting. They are sending the same message to every world in the galaxy." On Earth, President Williams stood in the ruins of the Pentagon. The building had been damaged by the alien weapon, but the communication system still worked. "This is Earth," he said into the microphone. "We are human. We chose to fight. We chose to die free rather than live as slaves. We call on every species, every world, every being that remembers freedom to stand up and say no." The message was simple, but it spread across the galaxy faster than light. On the factory world of Proxima Centauri, the insectoid workers laid down their tools. On the agricultural planet of Volf 359, the plant-like farmers refused to tend their crops. On the military station orbiting Sirius, the cyborg soldiers turned their weapons on their masters. "High Counselor," came panicked reports from across the Empire. "Rebellion on Kepler 442b. The entire mining operation has stopped. The workers are demanding freedom. Revolt on Gliese 667cc. The factory overseers have been killed. The workers are broadcasting human messages. Uprising on HD 40307G. The garrison has been overwhelmed. The planet is lost." Zethran watched his empire begin to crumble. One word from one small species had lit a fire that was spreading across the galaxy. "How many worlds in revolt?" he asked quietly. 47 and growing, sir. The human transmission is being repeated on every frequency. Subject species are remembering what it means to be free." The alien ship began to withdraw from Earth's orbit. The humans had lost their fleet, but they had won something more important. They had shown the galaxy that the Galactic Dominion could be defied. That fear was not the only choice. That some things were worth dying for. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender demands from the rebel worlds. They want us to leave their systems immediately." "And if we refuse?" Zethran asked. "They say they will fight, sir. They say they learned from the humans that death is better than slavery. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Dominion was facing a galaxy-wide rebellion. And it had all started with one word from one small blue planet. No. The age of oppression was ending. The age of freedom was beginning. And somewhere in the ruins of Earth, the surviving humans smiled, knowing that their sacrifice had not been in vain. The galaxy would never be the same.